Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum. Hi everybody. Nice to meet you again. So today I will continue with a new topic, which is graphical user interface or GUI. Yeah. So I suppose everyone is very familiar with the term GUI because we basically are using this GUI a lot every day. For example, when we use the Windows platform, our computer. So we have been using a lot of GUIs in doing our tasks when we use the computer. Yeah. Now, so let's move on to the introduction slide. Okay, a graphical user interface GUI presents a pictorial interface to a program. It gives a program a distinctive look and feel. Now, so I really agree with this statement in which it says it provides a pictorial interface. So basically, it gives us um, you know some illustrations of some images in which it does not exist if we were to use the normal you know uh, MS-DOS prompt and so on. Yeah, so the advantages of using the GUI, the graphical user interface, are: number one, it allows the user to spend less time trying to remember which keystroke sequence. Okay, if you are wondering what does this statement mean, now remember when we use the Microsoft Word, for example, I believe some of you have been using this keystroke sequence command a lot. For example, Control C for copy, Control A to select all, Control V to paste something after you have copied, something on the clipboard. So basically, this is fine because we can memorize the keystroke sequence. It's just that uh, you know, it is also tedious to remember uh, each keystroke for a command, yeah, for each command or for each instruction. So by having a GUI, maybe you don't have to remember or memorize any more keystroke sequences because basically you can just click on some buttons to do some uh, events or some um, instructions or commands. And then with the GUI, it enables the user to learn new application faster. Again, if we were to imagine about our MS-DOS prompt, the command prompt, yeah, without the graphical user interface, I believe many of us are having a hard time, remembering on how to type certain thing. For example, if you want to open certain directory, yeah, you have to type the dir command. If you want to list, to check on all the existing files in the directory, you have to type the ls command and so on. So it's quite hard for us to learn some applications. But if we have this GUI interface, a graphical user interface, we tend to learn the application faster because it's easier for us to remember, you know, the image of the frames and so on. Now, Java provides two types of packages that offer the GUI object. Number one is the AWT class, and number two, the swing class. Yeah, so you have to remember these two types of packages. And uh, another thing that you have to know or you have to remember is that AWT was introduced first by Java. Then only Java introduced the swing class. Now this knowledge is important because then only you will, you know, uh, understand, you know, something better later on when we do the GUI programming, right? So Swing is a GUI widget toolkit for Java. It is part of Oracle's Java Foundation Classes, JFC, which is an API. Yeah, I hope you know what is API, Application Programming Interface, for providing a graphical user interface GUI for Java programs. Swing was developed to provide a more sophisticated set of GUI components than the earlier abstract window toolkit AW2. So exactly as I just mentioned earlier. So abstract window toolkit AW2 was introduced first by Java, and then Java came out later with the Swing to basically provide more sophisticated components. Yeah. Swing provides a look and feel that emulates the look and feel of several platforms and also supports a pluggable look and feel that allows applications to have a look and feel unrelated to the underlying platform. So basically, we will learn later that Swing is platform independent. Uh, so basically it can blend nicely, yeah, uh, according to the platforms that you are currently using. This is a bit different with the earlier AWT. So look at this diagram. Yeah, I basically took this diagram from the internet. So you can see the AWT and the Swing. Right, but this is like a hierarchical diagram in which you can see the object class is on the topmost level in this hierarchy. Now, I hope you can still recall that I have mentioned to you a few times that object is basically the most basic class in Java, and basically this class was created, yeah, in Java. Yeah? By default, object class is already exists, and now we can say that AWT basically also inherits from the Java. So whatever functions that we already have in the object class will be inherited by the AWT class. Now, so we can see the component and then the AWT components, container, yeah, AWT containers and the window. And then on the right hand side, you can see the Swing. So I hope you still can recall what I mentioned, just now. That Swing came uh, after the AWT was introduced. So that is why we can see that Swing basically is related to this AWT. So basically, Swing will basically use certain components already introduced by the AWT class. Okay, Swing has more powerful and flexible components than AWT. Now, this statement is very important. I'm going to read this statement again. Swing has more powerful and flexible components than AWT. In addition to familiar components such as buttons, checkboxes, and labels, Swing provides several advanced components such as tab panel, scroll panes, trees, tables, and lists. So these components which are not available in the AWT class now are available in the Swing class. Unlike AWT components, Swing components are not implemented by platform-specific code. Instead, they are written entirely in Java and therefore are platform independent. I also have mentioned about this thing to you just now. The term lightweight is used to describe such an element. Now, so when we say that Swing is platform independent, so we also want to think that it is a lightweight package, because basically it does not rely too much on certain libraries on a specific platform. Yeah. The AWT Abstract Windowing Toolkit is a standard or native GUI object. The objects defined in AWT classes are machine dependent. So remember, Swing is basically machine independent, but AWT is machine dependent. So basically, it is a kind of a heavyweight process. Yeah? So Swing classes extend the standard AWT class by adding a new set of components and a collection of support classes. So we can assume that we have the AWT class, and now Java introduced Swing class, but Swing class is basically is an extension to the AWT class. Yeah, but of course with new features and components. Alright, GUI classes can be classified into three groups. So we can see three groups here: component, container, helper. So under component, we have JLabel, JButton, JTextField, JComboBox, JCheckbox, and JList. I would say you will use most of the components here when you do the GUI programming, especially for your project. Yeah. And I'm sure when you look at the components later, you will straight away feel like, oh, I've been looking or seeing these components a lot. Yeah. When I use the apps in the computer. Yeah. Now, so under container, yeah, there are JFrame, JPanel, and JApplet, right? But in this course, we are not going to cover the applet, but of course you will use the frame and panel, yeah. And then under helper, yeah, under the helper group, there are a few more components: the graphics, color, font matrix, dimension, and layout manager. We're going to look at the layout manager you know, more after this. Yeah. But before we proceed to the next slide, yeah, as you can see, some components are colored in blue. Yeah. So this is basically trying to tell you that the blue components now will be used by you in your project. So basically, it is like a must, a compulsory for you to apply these components in your project. So another hierarchical diagram, as you can see in this screen. Okay, so we start off with the object class, yeah, and you can see, you know, the dimension, font matrix, color, graphics, you know, layout, container, panel, window, JComponent, dialog, frame, applet, you know, JApplet, JFrame, JDialog. So this is like the hierarchy of the classes. So we can say the first level here basically inherit from object, and then we have the next level, yeah, and a few more levels. So basically it is like saying that JApplet basically inherits from applet. So whatever functions that are available in the applet class can be inherited by the JApplet and so on. Yeah. So now look at the term heavyweight and the lightweight here. Heavyweight basically refers to the JApplet, but of course again you're not going to use applets in this course. But for the lightweight components, yeah, as you can see, the term swing GUI. So in the previous slide, we know that swing is a lightweight component because it is machine independent. Yeah, so we are going to focus normally on the swing GUI class. Yeah? Now let's look at this example. This is basically a screenshot of uh, a frame, yeah, or a form in Java. Okay, so I'm sure you have uh, looked at some components, even though you have not used any GUI or swing GUI components in Java before. But of course, this kind of components on this particular interface are very much um, used, yeah, by many programmers when they write their GUI programming. Yeah. All right. So let's learn about the components available in this form. So this is basically a frame. The whole thing is a frame. Yeah. And then, yeah, the quantity board, for example, this is a label. And of course, price per unit. Yeah. These are all labels. Yeah. And then we have two panels here. You see, on this frame, we have like another, small frame. So this is basically called a panel. Okay, so panel is basically used to segregate. Yeah. uh, so it's good to have a panel so that we know that, oh, this panel is focusing on the product info, the other panel is focusing on the product output. All right. And then the text field is basically where we are going to type something. Yeah. And we have this radio button and the buttons. Yeah. So um, these are just some of the components available in this example. But of course, we can add more components. For example, checkboxes, JList, and so on. So let's look at the containers and components. Container is a window in which GUI components are placed. GUI components is a visual object with which user interacts via mouse or the keyboard. Alright. So now we're going to look at the frame. So frame is basically a container. So a frame is a window with a title and a border. So let's go back to the previous slide. So we can see that it is a kind of a window. So frame is a window with a title, yeah, and a border, of course. To work with swing components, we use container, JFrame, JDialog, JApplet, and JPanel. So now the box here basically describes, yeah, each container class, yeah, in brief. All right. Now, so let's look very quickly. This is java.awt.container. So basically, it basically indicates that whenever we want to do the GUI programming afterwards, yeah, you need to import this package, yeah, For example, if you want to use the frame, JFrame, so you need to import javax.swing, yeah, .jframe, or just simply .star, yeah. But of course, I will show you or give you an example about how to use this container class in the next tutorial video. So there are 4 steps involved in creating and using a frame in a program. Step 1, we need to declare a class of the frame. Step 2, we need to set the frame's attribute such as its size, position on the screen, and title. Alright. Step 3, make it visible by setting its attribute to true. And step 4, create the application by using the new statement. Okay. So I will definitely demonstrate on how to employ all these steps in order for us to create our own frame later. So basically these are the methods available in the JFrame package. So JFrame is a top level container to hold GUI components. Yeah, so we know that whenever we want to um, do a GUI programming, we cannot escape from using the frame, because frame is basically the most basic template. Then only you will add more components, for example panel, buttons, text field, and so on, right? Okay, so panel. So JPanel or panel is a container in which components can be placed and organized. So I hope you can still recall in the previous few slides afterward, just now, I basically show you an example of a frame, and there are 2 panels, right, on that particular frame. So now we are going to talk about the panel. So a panel is often used by other containers to arrange components. With Java GUI programming, you can divide a window into panels. Panel act as a subcontainer to group user interface components. So the panel constructor takes no arguments. Okay. Next is about layout manager. Layout manager is where you can apply that feature to arrange GUI components on a container for representation purposes. Because of course we want to arrange, certain things to be in the center, certain components to be on the top right, and so on. So we need to use the layout manager in order to arrange the GUI components. So layout manager will provide basic layout capabilities that are easier to use than determining the exact position and size of every GUI component. So there are 3 types of layout. Yeah. So we have the flow layout, the border layout, and the grid layout. Yeah, but of course we will only use the layout manager when we do the GUI programming. Yeah. So the flow layout is the most basic layout manager. GUI components are placed on a container from left to right in order in which they are added to the container. So whenever you add components to your frame, for example, so it will be placed on your frame starting from left to right according to the order, yeah, order that you added the components. Okay. Now, so these are basically some descriptions of the constructors, yeah. This is the default constructor, yeah, the normal constructor, yeah, and the normal constructor with one argument, another normal constructor with a few more arguments. So you can choose basically which constructors that you want to employ or use. Now, here is about border layout. So the border layout will arrange the components into 5 regions, whether it is the north, west, south, east, and center. The border layout class constructors are, okay, the default constructor and the normal constructor with 2 arguments. So the third layout is the grid layout. It divides the container into a grid, so components can be placed in rows and columns, right? So the grid layout class constructors are, this is basically the normal constructor with 2 arguments and the normal constructors with 4 arguments, yeah. And then in this slide, it has listed out several GUI components which are basically the most used components, yeah. So the description is on the right hand side of in this table, so you may want to read on the description on your own later, yeah. But I hope you can basically start to memorize the names of all the components, the J label, J button, J text field, J combo box, J checkbox, and J list. All right. So J label is used to provide text instructions or information on a GUI. It displays a single line of read-only text. Label must be instantiated with the call to a constructor. Okay, so several label constructor and methods are presented in this table. Okay, you may want to go through this on your own later. Right, these are more methods for JLabel. Next, about the JText field, are single line areas in which text can be entered by the user from the keyboard, or text can simply be displayed. So the difference between JText field and JLabel is that for JLabel, the user cannot type in anything using the keyboard, because JLabel is just to display some text to the user. But for the JText field, normally we use the JText field to give a space for the user to key in something as an input. Yeah. The constructors and several methods of class JText field, okay, is basically provided in this table. This is the default constructor, the normal constructor, yeah. And then another normal constructor. Another normal constructor, we have a few, yeah. A method set echo char, set editable. So you may want to try out, yeah. Maybe you would like to observe what would be or what will happen, yeah, if you employ these methods, yeah, when you use the JText field. Next is about the J button. So of course, I'm sure you have been using a lot of buttons when you use certain applications or certain systems. So it is a component that the user click on to trigger a specific action. So most of the time or all of the time, when you click on a button, then it will perform something, yeah. So maybe it will direct you to another form, yeah, or maybe it will produce some messages, yeah. So button is one of a very important component when you do GUI programming. And since talking about action here, I would like to mention about GUI programming is basically an event-driven programming. Yeah, because we program, uh, you know, in such a way that we will try to think what will be the event. What is the event going to happen if we do some operation? For example, if we were to click the cancel button, what will happen? If we were to click on the next button, maybe this frame will be linked to another frame. Yeah, something like that. So we can use several types of buttons, for example, command buttons, checkboxes, toggle buttons, and radio. A command button generates a button event when the user clicks the button. An event is an action initiated by the user of the program interacting with GUI, such as the user moving the mouse, clicking the mouse, and clicking the button. Yeah. So an event, to process an event, the programmer must perform two key tasks: register an event listener and implement an event handler. So this is very important. Yeah. So you need to basically plan nicely such that uh, what would be the event listener, what would be the event handler. Okay. So an event listener is an object of a class that implements one or more of several event listener interfaces from package java.awt.event. An event handler, on the other hand, is a method that is automatically called in response to a particular type of event. Yeah, so it's very easy to imagine this. When you click on a button, for example, so there is a click, a button click event. So there is a class that listens to your event and it will handle on how to react to your event. And the next thing is J checkbox and J radio button. They have an on off or true false values. A J radio button is different from a J checkbox in that there are normally several J radio buttons that are grouped together, and only one of the J radio buttons in the group can be selected, or only one will have the true value. Now, in order for you to remember this, is very simple because um, you know that when you listen to your radio or to a radio, you can only select one radio station that you would like to hear to. Yeah. For example, if you want to listen to Hot FM, yeah. So yeah, that's the only station that you can listen to. You cannot select more than one station at a time. Yeah. But as opposed to J checkbox, you can basically select a few options. For example, you may want to check on, yeah, I'm a student. Student value will be true. I'm basically a part-time worker. Yeah, another true value for a part-time worker. And then maybe you want to say that I am uh, basically uh, an athlete. Yeah, I am basically uh, what else? Uh, a netizen, something like that. Yeah. All right. So basically, uh, that was the last slide for this video. Yeah. So if you have any questions, you can uh, ask me via email or the forum session. Okay. So thank you very much. Thank you for listening. I will continue afterwards with the tutorial video, and I will give you some examples on how to do a simple GUI programming. Okay, bye.